Throughout this year, I've spent an unusual amount of time on planes. I've had the opportunity to visit several of the great aquarium clubs in this country, and as of this moment, I've pretended like I know stuff in 4 different states. May the ruse last forever. Well, a few weeks ago, I flew out to St. Louis and saw enough to keep me humble for at least forever, including the collection of one of the undeniable greats in our hobby, Gary Lange. We were a little short on time, but we covered as much as we could, and I hope you'll enjoy this view into his world. First of all, thank you for having me. I can't count how many videos I've seen filmed in this room over the years, and I never imagined I would be here in person, so thank you so much for having me. I think the internet people already know who you are, well-renowned for your work with Rainbowfish, described species, right? You've had at least one named after you.
Yes.
Do you know of a larger private collection of rainbowfish in the U.S.?
No, I don't think there's anybody that has more species. Some people might have overall more fish, but more species, I think I probably got the most.
Cool. And you've got some incredible individuals here. So please lead the way.
Okay, well, let's start over here in the corner. Here we've got the, up here we've got Rawara Village Rainbow. And then I've got a pair of Mergunda Imbutu. That's a new fish that my friend Johannes Graf brought back. I bred these guys one time. I have about 8 of them. I pulled the babies out, and since then they have only been thrown in fertile fry. But one of the other tanks, they've actually thrown some fry now. So.
Any idea what the difference is with fertility?
I don't know. Yeah, I thought at first, well, maybe the other males were bothering him so much that he just couldn't do his job, and but he's been picking on that female now, and just give them lots of places to hide. And they've been laying on glass, and sometimes they lay underneath in like a cave area. So that's why I've got a cave area for them. So.
No kidding, they lay on glass?
Yeah.
Wow.
They lay the bear tank's right on the bottom. So.
Okay.
I'll show you a spot where a guy's thrown 3 eggs.
Okay, lovely.
And down here, oh yeah, it's typical for rainbows, isn't it? That's the Glossolepis multisquamata. You see them there in the corner.
Look at those fins.
Yeah, I call it, and they're not. That's not because they beat each other up. That's the way the fins look once they get really, really good and big.
Okay.
Hopefully your low light will be able to get some good shots of that.
Yeah. That's gorgeous.
Okay, and I've got my junk here in the corner. Sorry about the glass there, but that's Melanotaenia picta. And they're not turned on right now, so you can get an idea of the colors. But when they're turned on, they really are a nice fish. So
yeah,
fun to play with. So producing well. While you're down this low, these two both are Melanotaenia species Kali Misu, Myesiu. Kali means stream, so all these that are unnamed and we don't know, we just make sure that we put the stream name on them.
Sure.
Because a lot of these fish from the Bird's Head and Bintuni area look alike. They've got a nice big stripe down the side, kind of red-orange on the body, and we know they're different. So are they cousins? Are they different species?
And the Bird's Head, Gary, that's a region in Papua New Guinea?
Yes, that's the far western section.
Okay.
And this is like the southern section. And yeah, the other males, come on. The females are sitting there.
Oh, look at the size of them.
Yeah.
Wow.
I've had to separate them. For a while, I had three or four males in there, and they were doing nice, and they quickly killed the other 2 males, and they started to kill each other, so I had to separate them, so, yeah. Yeah, because it's nice to have a nice 4-foot tank and have all that stuff go in there, so.
Wow, look at those fins.
Yeah, oh, there he is, good. He's got a little sore on the side of him. I don't know what he did. He's hurting himself.
Oh, that's incredible.
But I've got that. I do have Beta rubra, and the pot's in there for them to breed in, and they've done that quite a few times. I just need to take those guys out and put them into another tank so that they can breed and we can raise up the fry, because that is one of my favorite mouth brooders.
So they spawn in the pots?
Yep. Yeah. They sit there and they do their thing in the pot, and they squeeze, because otherwise they lose the eggs in the gravel. So.
Okay, got it. So do they drop eggs and then the male pick them up
The male
afterwards?
picks them up. Sometimes the female will pick them up, just like picked his, and they spit them back and forth. I haven't seen that with this one, but that's what people have told me. And there are the most amazing rainbow fishes in here, Taiwa, but they have decided to. Oh, there's too many people in here. They think they're cichlids. You know, that's what cichlids do. But when somebody that's not the owner comes in,
Sure.
and there's about 4 or 5 males in there, and a dozen females are in the back there. But
We'll see if we can. Oh, are those them?
yeah,
Right
those
back
are
there.
the female. Those are the females. So they're
females. Okay.
yeah. Isn't that what we always do, huh? I got some new co-op food. I just saw Corey yesterday. I saw Dean the day before, so I know you saw Dean a few weeks ago. So
Yeah.
see if that'll.
What are you feeding there? Is that the
This is one of the Corey co-ops, easy community.
the community? Got it.
Yeah, they were pretty hungry when I got home anyway, but everybody seemed to like it. So I always try new products to see what's there. Yeah, they're just so scared. Maybe we'll come back to the tank
Sure.
and maybe they'll get a little bit better. It's
Okay.
always something. So I've got one of the lone male M-tubas in there. He's looking pretty nice because he hasn't beat up on anybody. And then those are Heiko Blair's namesake, Chilerathena blairii. And they're not turned on yet. They're thinking about getting excited, but they're not up to spec yet. And you can see that one male's getting a little on the old side.
You said these are Chilothrina?
Yeah, Chilerathena blairii.
I'm trying to learn how to tell them apart by sight.
Yeah.
Okay, and it seemed like pointy faces that Chilothrina and the Glossolepis both have, right? But
Yeah, that's
wider body?
right. That's kind of sort of, and
okay.
you know the whole scientific part of it. I tend to follow the scientist, and I don't get into counting the fin rays and everything myself. Not
Sure.
just yet. So
Okay. Beautiful. Oh, what are these?
these guys, dirty tanks. Sorry about that, but
it's gorgeous.
these are trifasciata, but these are trifasciata from the Blythe River. So the females you can see are the ones we've got are kind of small. They should be bigger than that.
Really?
So it's just that I lost the adult females, so these are like the second generation females, and getting a few eggs out of there. I got to get working on those. But in Australia, it's from Australia. They've got I don't know 20, 30 different river types. So if you've got a trifasciata, to just say you have a trifasciata is useless. You have to say which river form or which type it is, because you definitely don't want to mix them. Some of them are going to be split out and be different species. So
I meant to ask you while we were here, if I can, what's the habitat like? I'm sure it's variable.
Sometimes it's rocky and clear, and other times it's like, oh my God, this place is so nasty and muddy and stinky, and in certain places in Australia and New Guinea, there are crocodiles, and crocodiles like to eat people.
Yeah, you don't say.
So when we go to New Guinea, especially, we have a native around that knows that area and says, hey, there's crocodiles in here, and is it safe or is it not? And if it's not, we just don't deal with it because it's I'd rather come back alive.
Pretty muddy though.
Yes, in some places. In other places, there's like no plants. In other places, there are some plants. So.
Oh man, look at that color. That is incredible.
That's one male. That's Glossolepis species Gudgeons. So you can't get to Gudgeon anymore. They closed. Well, you can if you hiked for 3 weeks, but they closed the airport. The natives decided they didn't want any outside interference anymore, and so we collected that fish there. And I've got a few. They're not spawning very well. I'm getting a few fry, and I really need to get those going because he gets a little bit bigger than that, and he really gets a lot more colorful.
I bet there's no way that video is going to do that justice. That beautiful orange glow.
But when he gets going too, it's just fantastic. Now some of these I moved the lights forward, and now he's going nuts, goofball. This is a species of rainbow, Melanotania marazi. This is one of the most amazing rainbow fish. Also, these will get about another 3/4 of an inch longer than that. The red ones are the males. The other ones, the colorless ones, are the females. And the reason I have so many of those, unlike other rainbow fish, I normally raise rainbow fish fry at 80 degrees, if you raise your fry at 80 degrees here, just like a pistols, you will get almost all of one sex. And that's what happened. I ended up with, I think, 32 or 40 females and like 4 males.
Okay, I want to ask you that again slowly, because I meant to ask you that exact question. What are the environmental influences on sex ratio?
Just on
Temperature.
Marazi and Kali Taiwa,
Okay.
so far what we found, it's high temperature will give you females. 80 degrees on up, and really about 78 degrees on up will give you females. 74 on down, we haven't scientifically really looked at that, but that seems to produce all males. And the sweet spot is like 75 to 77, somewhere in that area,
And
to get a mixed ratio.
Is that generalizable, you think, to other species, or just
No,
with these?
just to those two,
Okay.
because I always did 80 degrees. That was my thing. Do
Yeah.
80, do 80, do 80, because they grow up quicker. Rainbows grow so slow.
Sure.
And I was just really dismayed when I ended up with so many females and so few males.
Right.
So if it had gone the other way, I wouldn't have been happy, but at least I would have had a bunch of fish for people for their nano tanks.
There's demand for sure, at least for the
Yeah.
beautiful males. A couple were fighting down here.
Yeah, that's Etenensis. Here he comes.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, there's too many plants in that tank. But good sized fish. That's another fish that Heiko discovered and collected. So yeah, he's
Come on back.
doing typically rainbow fish stuff. When you want to look at them, they hide and.
Sometimes I figure the lens of a camera looks like the eye of some giant
I
beast.
have no idea, but when I'm doing still pictures, it's just sort of get the chair out, clean the glass meticulously,
Right.
wear black clothes, and grab a beer and just sit there and wait, take
Yeah.
pictures, wait.
Okay, what do we got done here?
This is probably an Affinis, but I can't say for sure. So this is
Beautiful.
Melanotaenia species Kali rum. So got some rum? Yeah, mate. But this is from the eastern side of New Guinea. So it's on the north. New Guinea is split from north to south with a mountain range down the center of it. So
Yeah.
this is the Papuan side. It's the far eastern side of Papua. Now, Papua is the western side of the island. So PNG is the eastern side of the island. So none of these fish are from PNG. They're all from Papua, Indonesia. People always do that over and over again, say PNG, and that's incorrect.
Okay. Up north here.
A lot of junk in here. This is Tanganyikan Val that has overtaken the tank, which I need to just pull in there. I've got some Gertrude Aru2s growing up, and just odds and ends rainbows.
Got it.
So,
Okay.
and in here is Morgunda imbuta again, and that's the female, and the male looks like he might be hiding in a flower pot somewhere. He was beaten on her early this morning. I think he wanted to spawn again. And if you can look carefully, you'll see a few of the fry up there.
Oh, I
They
do.
have not been producing fry for me. That's why I separated all the fish, because every time all the fish were breeding, they were producing infertile eggs. I got one nice round of them, and then they decided to not produce, and I have no idea why. But you separate them. I feed a lot of earthworms, krill, that sort of stuff, and also pellets.
So this looks like some kind of a gudgeon?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, it is a gudgeon. Yes, because it's you see the fins on the front there, the pelvic fins. They're unpaired. When they're paired, when they're together, cupped together, that's what you call a goby.
Oh, I see.
I said unpaired. I mean fused. Excuse me.
Yeah, at the base.
Fused, right? If
Yeah,
they're fused.
okay, for gripping.
I said unpaired. Bad.
And are these spawning inside of a cave or in the open on the mop there?
These guys spawned in the cave. I've had other ones spawn right on the glass. I've had others spawn on that slate back there. Other Mergundas that I've spawned over the years from Australia and actually New Guinea have spawned on the open on slates. So I've given them a lot of places, and the other idea was put a mop in there so if he started beating on the female, she could hide without getting eaten.
Does it surprise you at all to see the fry staying near the surface rather than down low where the adults are hanging out?
In the past, I really haven't played with these guys too much. Most of the time for Murgunda, I let them, it takes about 6 days for them to hatch, and I let them go for about 4 or 5 days, and grab the slate, take it out, and artificially hatch them. But the dad takes a really good job of taking care of them until that point, usually. But these guys had, you know, when I had 8 fish in this tank, it was like they would lay them, and then all of a sudden somebody would eat them. And I think sometimes they were infertile, and the father realized that the male takes care of them. He chases the female away, and they were infertile. And other times, it looked like they were developing, and I'm going, oh boy, I'm going to take them away tomorrow. And that morning, I come in there and they've eaten them. So it's a pain. So
Those are cool. You want to hit these before we leave the zone here?
Yeah, there's so many, so many. This is a really cool fish. This is a Melanotaenia species from Australia, and it's a Williams Creek, and that's just about full size. So I put an extra light on there. Now they're a little bit timid, but they've got really beautiful reds. You can see there's only 3 females in there, so I've got to get working on those. What I'm probably going to have to do is, when you've got that many fish in there, one fish will be breeding and the other fish will be eating eggs. And so I'll probably take these guys, throw some of the males over there, have 2 males and the rest of the females over here, let them breed, get a nice mop of fish. And then I got to do the same thing with these trifasciata over here.
Sorry, go ahead.
Too many fish in the tank. For a 2-foot tank like that, I like to have about 6 fish. Any more than that, one eats and the other breeds.
They just sit and wait, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Swoop in at the end and eat up all the eggs.
Even if you feed them, you know, one of our members brings in blackworms, and so I get a pound of blackworms every month, and you know, that's what I use to try to really get a lot of eggs going. That, and I feed frozen bloodworms. And I buy a lot of brine shrimp too, so frozen brine shrimp, and certainly flake food and pellet food. So
I love that green iridescence above.
And when they get bigger, they even get nicer looking. So the goal here is to find a tank for these guys somewhere and open it up and let the trifasciata have the whole 4-foot tank, which everybody should be in a 4-foot tank, but unfortunately I don't have enough space. And,
Only got so much tank space.
And I just can't say no. This is a fish that a missionary pilot gifted us, and we sent it off to Gary Lange, so therefore later on he named it for him, Melanotaenia Eric Robertsi. So they're not turned on and they're not quite fully developed yet, so it seems like sometimes I'll say that over and over, oh, they're not turned on, so.
Yeah, we're a little late in the day for that.
Well, actually, I turned on the lights a while ago, so I was hoping that they would be there. Sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't. Now this one here is feeling his oats, and he's bugging the female. So again, see how that looked like the Kali Masu in a way. You've got that big black line down the center, and you've got orange, and you've also got a twin bar on the back. All the tails on a lot of these from the Bintuni region have that twin bar. It's very different looking than the other fish, but you can say it's, you know, maybe a third cousin. You know, maybe is it a new species? Is it something else? We'll have to wait and see what the DNAs are probably going to be very close. But if there's enough meristic differences, we'll see. But
this is incredible. That color is amazing. I wanted to ask you about the DNA testing because I heard you mention it a few times.
Yep.
How many specimens do you usually have to contribute?
Well, for a lot of these, they only need 1 or 2 to begin with. When they're really looking at something very hard and published, they'd like to get, a half dozen or so.
Okay.
But the more you get, the better off they are. But,
not too bad.
more times than not, we don't collect any specimens. But if something looks like it's dying, throw it in the ethanol then. So.
Sure. Oh, you do ethanol rather than formalin?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. If you're doing DNA, you have to do that. So that's why Gary Lange, on a lot of fish, like his quote unquote striped praecox, which is a ruba vittata, he thought it was a striped praecox because he had thrown it in the formaldehyde. They can't do DNA from that. So when we went back and collected it, then he looked at that and they looked at the DNA and said, "Wow, this is different. This is a different species." So.
Had they eroded part of the?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's happened. That's all the fish that have been collected since like the 70s or whatever, 80s. And before that, all those were formaldehyde.
Not stored well.
Yeah, in formaldehyde.
Sequence.
I mean, it's great for everything else, but not for DNA. So
Got it.
it is what it is.
Okay.
Now this is another one of those species from
Is this Indonesia by chance?
same place.
Oh, okay.
Same place again, Bintuni, but you can see a little bit different thing. He's got the line, he's got the red,
Yeah.
and he's not showing off. And I've got algae all over the place. So sorry about that.
No, you don't. This looks like another.
Yep, same Mergunda,
Yeah.
same species. And if you can point over here, you can see these spots. The spot there, the spot there, and the spot there. That's where he spawned. He threw and with one of the females. There's two other fish that I think are females in there also.
So this is residue from the sticky eggs.
Yeah, well, he spawned and they all were infertile, and after a day and a half he ate them. So, because I kept looking at them, I said, boy, if they're fertile, I'm going to get the razor blade in there and scrape them off. But
Yeah.
I've given him places to lay. I actually had some slate hanging in the back too before, and he wouldn't spawn anywhere except right on the glass. So,
What got you into the gudgeons next to rainbows?
well, because we found them at the same time. So if we find something neat over there, we're bringing it back. Johannes Graf brought these back from Intuba, so they were going to go on a whole day jungle hike, and my knees can't take that. That was their first place they were going to go, and as soon as they got to that village, the sheriff in that area said, "Hey, no, you can't come here. There's rebels in this area, and they're looking to take prisoners." They did that with that New Zealand guy and held him for a whole year. So, they didn't want to do that. They just spent a bunch of money for the four of them to fly there, flew out, and then went to Lake Mbutu. From what I understand, they fished that for a couple of days, and then the same thing happened there. The soldiers came and said, "Hey, you got to get out of here. They want to get after you." They got stuck for several days, waiting for the next boat out of there, and they brought this fish out of there, and they brought a couple others out. But other than that, and so spent a lot of money and got a few fish, but not many. So
Didn't want to leave with nothing, huh?
yeah. So but it's a nice gudgeon. So I think the gudgeon people will be happy once I get going and
Sure.
get that fish out.
Yeah, I bet.
And
Okay.
they got that, and they got a hardy head. We'll see that in the other fish rooms. So you want to look at the fry rack over here?
Oh, I would absolutely love to.
So I got these from Lucas Bretts a while ago. They were what you call the zebra facilities were using these, and I sort of redid them a little bit. There's a tube in the rack in the back that I've just cut a hole in, so the water flows out the back.
Oh, I see the drains in the back there, blocked with sponge.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a gutter.
Right. Yes, it's a gutter sort of thing, but I've used a pipe versus a gutter because he uses a gutter and that produces so much humidity. He doesn't put lids on his tanks either, and that really does a lot. So these baby fry tanks, I do have them open right now, but you can see some of the fry here. These guys are over a month old, so.
Yeah, I'd say you have some fry going on here. Oh, wow. Okay.
I don't have any really small fry though, so that's kind of the catch. So.
This is a nice setup here. Is it constantly dripping?
Yep, constantly
Okay.
dripping, and you got to make sure. When I came home, there was water on the floor, and it's going up. And I realized that one of them had gotten clogged, and it was about halfway drained. And this is a sump down here, and shouldn't have anything in there. And as you see, there's a whole bunch of semi-adult fish. They're any one of those would be producing fry now. They're big enough to produce viable eggs.
Okay, so that's the sump, and it's all circulating through there. Got it.
And I got to get them out of there. So with this many fish, I literally change the water on that thing every other day.
So another question I wanted to ask you, kind of on the breeding front. I see most of the tanks. They're pretty bare, which makes sense to me. Lots of hanging, spawning mops. What's the typical routine for you for collecting eggs and keeping them, safe and alive while they're incubating and before they hatch?
I will take the mop sometimes and just put into a 5-gallon tank and let it go overnight, it takes up to 7 days, 10 days for the eggs to hatch. So the eggs that were laid yesterday are going to take 10 days. The eggs that were laid 10 days ago are going to hatch almost immediately. So I leave the mop in there for like 10 days or so.
If I had eggs that I thought were taking, longer than 10 days. Would you think maybe they were too cool?
I try to hatch everything, incubate everything at 80 degrees, 80 to 82. When they get longer than that, it takes a lot longer. If I pick the eggs and put them in trays, so these are some of the saltwater. This is a new species of saltwater pseudomagills, so not a rainbow, but a blue eye. And I will also pick the rainbowfish eggs. I'll put them in something like that. And if they get to a point where I say, oh, that egg there is really, really eyed up, I will take that and put it into a little vial, put a few micro worms on it, and stick it in my pocket and walk around with it. That's an old killifish trick. That's nothing that I invented.
Are they chewing on the egg?
Who knows? Are they producing CO2? Yes. Are they chewing on the egg? Maybe. One of the other killifish tricks was, that's why you belong to a club, because you learn all these tricks. And I was in our big killifish club in St. Louis for a long time. They also blow into the water, so get an airline and blow in the water, get the water nice and acid, and sometimes that hatches them.
Does that help to weaken the membrane of the egg? And
Who knows? It's all that CO2 in there. I don't know exactly what it does. It's one of those things is where you can't actually say. So that would be one of your science experiments. One, you do CO2, and the other, you add maybe acid and lower the pH, and will that do it? Sure. I've also, for the pseudomagill, if I'm having trouble, sometimes I'll do 50-50 on the RO, so that, RODI, so get it down that way.
So you have your fry hatch out in a 5-gallon, and then do you try to relocate them to these containers?
These in here are all fish that were tray hatched.
Oh, I see.
So yeah, the other ones, once I've got a 5-gallon set up, and you'll see, unfortunately, in the other room that all the tanks, the 5 and 10s on the top that are supposed to be for fry tanks, have fish in them.
Right.
So it's kind of aggravating, but.
Do you have a favored first food for the brand new fry?
I have that fish guy has a nice food, and his very, very small food that works really well. And then golden pearls, 5 to 50 microns, works pretty good. I have gotten religion recently. Live foods work great for everything. I try to get them as quickly as possible, brine shrimp, and I have. My background was microbiology. That's what I did in my undergraduate, and I grew them for my viruses, for my bacteriophages. So I know how to grow bacteria, and that's what you have to grow. Grow what? Paramecium.
Right.
Paramecium are great. They're fantastic, But I've gone back and using my biology instead of having the vegetable matter and all that slime and snot in there. I use bouillon cube crystals, not the cube, but the crystals. You pour about 1/4 a teaspoon in there, and you get a nice brown thing. I was supposed to look at those to see if I haven't crashed the culture, but I used to crash them all the time, and I've been doing that, and that way I run it through a brine shrimp net so I don't get any junk, but I do a water change essentially on it, do half of the culture, and then separate them with the 25 micron filter, so that collects them all. And we can even show you that. So
I'd love to.
I know you've done a great video on the paramecium and everything, and with the little cups.
I love paramecium. And you said bouillon crystals. What kind of bouillon?
Well, just a beef bouillon. I'll show you the container before we get going. But do you want to look at these guys here? These are the striped praycocks. I kept telling the Europeans, no, stop calling them that, because they're not. And sure enough, they turned out to be a different species. These are Melanotania rubivittata.
You kind of forgive the confusion, but
yes, exactly. So, but they just acted different. They're nice striped, and then we've got now the male Alba marginata. Oh, here he is. Come here, baby. I've got about 12 of them in there. So I got them as a big school from one of the people in Maasai, and everybody's got a cave. And what I've really got to do is take a pair of those out and put them into another tank and start breeding those, because they're breeding quite nicely, and the females on this particular location are also very, very nice. They've almost got a little white edge to them. So the praycocks on these rubivittata are the same thing. Yep. They've got the yellow lower fins, and the males have the red. So that's a female. That's a female. And this is the location is called Mesalong, Mensalong. So which I think she misspelled it a little bit, but you don't find that one very often. But it was one of the, they were bringing in a bunch of wild stuff from Indonesia, and she got it, and they bred for her, and it's been very, very nice. So she had to get rid of a bunch of them, and she put them all in the auction. I said, okay, I want that bag.
Sorry, I got ooh shiny down here. Okay. Some Cyanodorsalis fry?
Oh, yeah.
Are those the ones that are almost full salt?
Yeah, at 1.017, so that's just about 1 2/3 cup. Okay. Oh, you know what I can do? It's right here. Oh, cool. It's going to freak them out, but
yeah, we can see them.
But at least you can see. So now this is what you always say not to do, right? Is to crowd that many fish into a tank, and you can see some of the males are already showing colors. They're already sexing out. They're throwing eggs in there already at that size.
Wow.
So I'm just about ready to take these and put them into the main tank. I never get fry in the main tank. They always end up eating the babies, so that's why I keep them like that for a while, then put them in the tank. Now the cool thing about Cyanodorsalis, when the tide goes out and the tide comes back in, the eggs hatch. So they're on the the moss or whatever on the side of the thing, and because I would put them in a container, and what I do all the time is I dip all the water out of the container, and then I put water back, and literally every time I do that, 10-15 minutes later I would have fry. Now I've got a bunch of other pseudomugil. It's never worked for those. The only other one is a really salty one, the Halophilus. Yeah. That one is also doing the same thing, but other ones have not done that. And again, they're in the tidal zone, so that's why they do it. You can literally, if you don't want to pick the eggs, you could just take that mop once you had a lot of eggs. I've had mops that have 300 eggs in them. They just go crazy. Take that mop, pick it up, put it in another tank. Well, picking it up and then putting it in another tank a couple minutes later is like the tide going out.
Sure.
And you can do that every other day. You pick it up, put it back in there, and fry hatch. And you can just feed baby brine shrimp. That's the first thing they eat. You don't need paramecium, and the baby brine stay in there until they eat them. It's the easiest blue eye of all.
Great.
Yeah, if you want to start a blue eye, the only thing is that so many people are afraid of salt. And for salt, what I do is, because I hate the salt creep, is I put down essentially a gasket of silicone. So I put silicone all around the edge and put saran wrap on that, then put my glass top on it and chill for 2 days. Nice. Let it get a nice good setting, and that way you never get the salt creep out of it.
Do you keep an RO unit?
I do, because some of these pseudomugil require really, really soft water, so I do that. My water is 2 degrees KH, so not much buffering capacity, 125 degrees carbon GH, so not a whole lot of calcium and magnesium, but enough. And then since we have chloramine in the water, they put a lot of sodium hydroxide, I guess, in there. So when they're mixing the chloramine or ammonium, so it's like 400 microsiemens. So that's pretty high, because even when we're collecting, it's like 150 or less. So sometimes it's 40 microsiemens. So it seemed pretty high, but for the most part that doesn't bother the fish, and most of them are good. This fish down here, we did skip by this one because the stupid things didn't come out. Lanatania chicora is in there, and yeah, they're not. Yeah, I see an empty tank. Come on, they're in there. This one was taking pH 6 and really low conductivity to get it going, so that's why I used a lot of RO in that one.
Now, the reason I ask about the RO is that I think something that maybe is a deterrent for people mixing their own salt is that preferably you would start with RO.
Yeah, for salt. Yeah, for salt, I don't really, these guys, when I start a tank of Cyanodorsalis, all that bit about cycling and everything, and even for freshwater, it's like you just put the sponge filter in there, throw them in there, throw the fish in there, and throw the stuff in there. Boom, your tank's made. That's it, and the filter will catch up. I've never had it happen where it's like, oh gee, they started dying because of ammonia. I've checked the ammonia, and they're always looking happy. So
do you do your salt mix for not full salt? Do you do that with tap to start?
Yeah, just tap water. Yeah, there for a while you can see that the nasty orange, that orange stuff was all over the glass too, the diatoms. And I tried doing RO, DI in here and the other salt tanks for a while. It just didn't make any difference because I thought, well, maybe I could get rid of those diatoms if I go with the straight RO, DI, and that didn't work. So I tried it.
We kind of skipped right past this tank when we walked in. Are these the adults of the
Yes.
Cyanodorsalis?
They're adults of Cyanodorsalis, and I also have some the brown-looking ones. Those are signifers from the Ross River, and those I normally keep at 1.014, so a little bit less salt. But I grow those up in here until they get about the size they need to go back into. Thing. I lost all my adults, but so I've got these and some other smaller ones, but I've got to get them out of there. Starting to get a little too aggressive.
Those fins are incredible.
And they're not doing their thing. When they do their thing, they get their fins up and they spin around in circles. It's like, come on, do your thing for the video camera. But that's why sometimes you just have to clean the glass and go about doing something else, and all of a sudden they'll do their thing. And yeah.
And what has caused this group to hang out at the top?
Those are
there?
the younger fish, so they just tend to seem to hang at the surface.
Staying out of the fray down here.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, those are beautiful.
They are, and when they get going, they're just an awesome little creature. So, and they're just so easy. Now you can see here that I do have even on this rimless tank, I put a seal. It's a very sloppy seal.
Oh, got it.
But you could easily, it's easier to see on this tank than it is on the other tanks. But you just put that seal on you put the silicone down, you smooth it, you put saran wrap on it, and it literally takes 2 days or longer for the silicone to dry because you've got it covered with saran wrap. Because otherwise if you try to pull it up, it'll pull up and then it doesn't.
So the top glass is not silicone down. You've just made a gasket.
Yeah, right. Yes, I've just got a gasket, and that works on the tanks that are slotted too, so that have a lid.
Good idea.
Yeah, it works. Because man, I hate having stuff go all over the place. So
It is kind of irritating.
the other day I forgot to put the mop all the way back in there, and I had one strand over the edge. All of a sudden I was realizing I had a leakage of salt, and it's like, oh no, that tank leaked, and then I realized
Kind of wicked out.
Yeah, it was. That's one of the killifish lessons you learn, because you've got all these killifish mops around, and you quickly learn that it's not all in the tank. You're going to be in trouble. So
Yeah.
those things you learn when you're in a club, or you have to do. I try not to do the stupid mistakes myself. I try to let somebody else do it. But
How long do you figure you've been doing this anyway? Breeding.
well, when I was 4 years old, I was helping my grandmother change the. This rack right here is actually what I had. She had a 29 on top and a 20 high on the bottom, and so I would help her change the water. She was in St. Louis. We were in a flat upstairs, and she was downstairs for a couple of years. So I started then. I got out of it until I was about 7, and got a betta tank. One of those 4-foot betta tanks or 2-foot betta tanks with little dividers, and pretty soon got bored with bettas. Took those out, and then got these. And I don't know, when I went away to college, I stopped playing with fish, and somebody in the lab at Jewish Hospital had some cichlids that they were getting rid of. They were moving, so I started the tank back up, and said, oh yeah, there's a fish club in St. Louis. You should go to that. And they gave me free drugs, and I was hooked.
What'd they give you?
Well, I got rid of, she had convict cichlids, so they bred right away, and it's like, oh, this is kind of cool. I'd done angelfish before, but this was really cool. But then it's like, oh, cichlids are kind of boring, and then there was everything else. And what got me into rainbows was the BAP chairperson was going, oh, Gary, there's this new book by Gary Lange, and it had a nice red fish on the front cover, and it's like, I opened the cover, and there's this big yellow fish here, the Herbert axelrodi.
Is this the actual species?
Yes, this is the actual species.
Okay.
And I said, oh my God, I've got to have that fish. These guys are going to be nice. Dirty glass, sorry about that.
Clean fish.
But I actually got this particular group from, cull from, or group from Gary Lange. Not these fish, but back in 1993, I think, when I was in Australia. So, and these are like 3rd generation from that, or 4th generation. But I just had to have that fish, so I found somebody that had it. Happened to be the editor of TFH at the time, Ed Taylor. So that was a long time ago, and called him up, and he said, yeah, okay, I'll send you fish. I had to figure out where the post office at the airport was, because he sent them airport to airport, and it was all downhill from there. So
Yeah.
you know, then the obsession became crazy, and not too many years after that, Dan Doherty came through town. There's a glossolepis name for him. He's a missionary over there, and he was looking for missionary pilots, and he brought them over here, showing, because I had his fish here, and he said, you know, this is really nice, and got to be pretty good friends. And like a year later, he said, hey, you know, I've got some time in June. Would you like to go collecting fish? And then it was, you know, the obsession became the craziness. So I've been to New Guinea 8 times now. So collecting, I think we probably had 17 new species of fish that we've collected. You know, it depends on what you call a species and what you don't call a species, but
Right.
a lot of different fish. So
Did I hear you right? Did you say, are these direct descendants of the first ones you had?
yes, this is probably the 3rd or 4th generation. They live 10 to 15 years. The smaller ones don't live quite that long, but they go a long time. So
Okay, and you're about 45, so that makes sense.
these are Gary Lange. Not looking.
Oh,
not
these
looking-
are yours.
Yeah, not looking very good right now. So they're just kind of losing their color. But sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. It looks like I got a lot of females in there too. So
Okay, what do we have here?
got some Alani in there. We've got some Bozemanii that are coming up in there, and I got rid of the Ogilvy eye, so I think there's one male in there. So I took a lot of stuff with me to Seattle. I just got back from there, so a lot of people were looking for some fish. So
You said Bozemanii, and what was the other?
a Bozemanii, and there's a Chillerthena Alani.
Alani, okay.
And they're kind of a sport of an Alani. If you turn around to your left there, I did put an extra light on this tank right here. Are they looking? Let me sneak by you there.
Oh, you sure did.
Are they looking up? Looking good? Oh, they're not. This guy's looking nice, but when they get going, they're like, oh my goodness. Now this isn't exactly like the original Alani, but it's very, very close. It's even has more red than the original, so that's why I say it's kind of a sport. But they have that good red on the top of their head and a nice, good lateral line, and when they get going, that male does not look very good. But take a look at him. So,
Well, he looks like he got bit.
yeah, he's got something
Yeah.
something going.
No, I
So,
can see that color. That's incredible.
yeah, but when they get going, that intense color, they'll get back there and start chasing the females into the mop,
Yeah.
and then they get really, really crazy. So
Okay, question for you.
sure.
Set up like this, I see you have a mop, so we're at least tangentially trying to get eggs out of here, right?
Right.
How much do you find them to be distracted by other vegetation compared to the mop?
You'll notice that I do have some hairy vegetation in here with
Yeah.
that, and they haven't produced too many eggs in there, because I look and I don't see any eggs in there. So they're pretty good about putting them in there. You definitely don't want to use the really hairy plants though, because they'll lay in the plant every time. If you put Java moss in there, they'd lay in the Java moss every single time. And it's hard to pick eggs out of Java moss.
Yes.
It's very, very difficult.
It tends to grab onto them and hold. Do you feel like they habituate to the spawning mops at all if they're used to spawning in them in a planer tank?
You know, I can't say that for sure whether they're you know trained to go to a mop or something like that. But you know, if I started having a lot of trouble, this tank is getting a little bit overgrown now. So normally I would get a lot of the lilies and chop them off and replant them, so there wouldn't be quite so many roots to be offered up. So.
Got it. Okay, but it's getting the job done.
The other thing that they really like to spawn near a sort of like a water source. You have to take a good picture of that darn algae. Sure. But somewhere where you've got a lot of bubbling and water movement, so they'll want to be in that area.
So is it the current or is it the oxygenation?
Both, because also if you have like a hang on the back filter, something like that will it will attract them too. So.
Got it. Okay, good tip.
Do we have anything here? The Moorhead Rivers, these are just the females in the way, so. And I've got some other fry somewhere. The male is like hiding the jerk. That's what we do.
Oh, I see him. Yeah, he's way in the back there hiding. Boy, he's big.
So I've got the octopus plant in there. That's quadrifolius, not stellatus. I think all Fan and all these other people continue to screw that up, the plant. because that's Pomatageton. Oh, that's the wrong word.
Pocostemon?
Pocostemon, yeah.
Yeah.
Pocostemon quadrifolius, and people keep calling that stellatus. Stellatus is a very hard plant to grow. This is brain dead easy. so it's very, very different.
So would I know it as Stellatus octopus?
Yeah, that's wrong. It's quadrifolius.
Quadrifolia? Okay.
Of course, yeah. Yeah, I think Fan started that. I love Fan, but at the same time, they keep listing that way. So
These have an interesting, very, very subtle body shape and fin shape to him.
when the male is out, I would call his color mauve when he's on. But
Yeah.
but these are from New Guinea, from the Morehead River, undescribed. Heiko collected them, and they have trifossilate DNA. Now, trifossilate is only supposed to be in Australia. So, the two continent, or the island and the continent were together at one time when the water levels were much lower. So that's why southern part of New Guinea has a lot of the same genetics as the northern part of Australia.
I meant to ask you that too, about their geological history and finding rainbow fish in both locations. Were they on the island when it was contiguous and then maintained as they spread apart, or has there been any bird transfer from one to the other, seabirds?
I think there were river flows from one to the other. I think because you got the mountains in New Guinea, and that flow just continued down. There's a Maccullochi-like fish in the western region that's named for Dave Wilson, Melanotaenia wilsoni, and the closest relative to that is, from what he was telling me, his DNA was Melanotaenia Gary Lange, which is kind of over here, and you can't figure out the river system exactly, but it's not that far away. So genetically, those two were what they told me were this close a link. So. Yeah, eventually they were together, and it wasn't just birds that moved them around. Birds will move some things around, but I think some of that bird stuff is just hand waving. I know
Okay.
Steele was talking about that, and it's like, no.
How long have they been separated?
Well, I have to go back and look. I've looked at that for yeah.
Oh, wow.
Is it, for the hardcore people, is this Chillerthina fasciata? Is it Chillerthina alleni? It's from the Warapin region, so a little bit north of where the alleni come from, but fairly far south of where the fasciata come from. So, and I put a second light on there so they get going. And every time we get in front of them, they don't look as good as when you walk away, because they're doing pretty nice now. But sometimes they just get so great looking. They're just fantastic.
I love any rainbow where there's some kind of base color that seems to cover the whole body.
Yeah. And they change as they I call that flashing. So everybody calls that flashing. That gets with the rainbows. They turn on and turn off. They turn on and turn off, and they're just getting going. And these are going to be big too. They're going to be like 4 inches by the time they're through. They're just a little small in that tank. So.
Yeah, love those. What you got by your right foot there?
Right foot there is another Chillerthina fasciata type, but from Collie Webb. And so the males are very, very red, and they get going, I put a second light on there too to see if I could get them going. When they really get going, the male gets solid red. The thing I like about these guys is the pectorals. See, the pectorals on these guys are orange, which most fish are kind of the same color or kind of neutral. So I thought that was kind of cool on those.
Yeah, it is.
Whether they're Chillerthina, or whether they're fasciata or a new species, is one of those. I don't really know, so we always keep them separate, because otherwise it would really make for muddy genetics.
All right, just in case. Okay. Oh man, there's so much more.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Lightning round.
This is this is Melanotaenia species Aru4. This is one that Heiko collected off the Aru Islands. This is one that we collected that was a little bit further than the one we just saw, and a different thing. And to me, is it alleni or is it fasciata is the question. So, and the other one we collected then was up here, and this one in this very close in the same region. Nice reds, but it really looks like the typical fasciata type, or something a little bit different. So we'll have to wait This is everybody's favorite, Melanitania bozemanii. This one is a chromsa. That is about as big as they get. Those are about 8 years old, those males. So,
Did you say Chromza? Collection point?
yeah, chromsa's collection point. That's actually a stream. So they come from a stream. Okay, pseudomcgill aren't coming out, so move on.
Sure.
Gertrude here, Gertrude from our Route 2. That's the original collecting point. They've got a nice little hook on the end of their, they're not going to put their hook out, but that's how you tell the difference between those and other Gertrude.
Got it.
Other things that are fun to see. Oh, this one here is, okay, they're hiding in the back. The Chilorthena alleni, which are axelrodi, I'm sorry. Chilorthena axelrodi, and he's hiding in the back naturally. They've got the smallest, slowest growing fish of all, so it's pretty much an aggravation. This is one that, oh, look at you guys. Notice they've got sort of like, is it alkalosis? I don't think it's columnaris, but the amari fish always seem to have, I have troubles with that guy. So it's kind of aggravating that they do that, but they're nice. And then we've got, that's the real Kali Taiwa, and you can see he's on. Where we had those in the planted tank, they were hiding, but that's why I call him the most amazing rainbow fish. So that one is the one that's is just a fantastic.
Come on, buddy. Oh,
and
nice.
you can see we've got a lot of, and he's not turned on. When he gets on, he'll turn that orange on just like the other guys and flash and do everything.
I can't imagine
This
better than
is
that.
Frederici from Martin Luther's village. So Sarong is a big bustling town, but within the town there's this little village that, it's almost no electricity type of stuff, and this was in a stream that was about 6 inches deep. He said it was different, and the first time we collected it, they all died. The boys went back this last time in 23 and collected and successfully brought it back, so it was good.
That's great.
A Melanitania species, Bindula Creek.
Oh, look
so
at
it
those.
looks very much like Exquisita, but the DNA is supposed to be different. So I've got to get going.
I love the caudal fins.
Yeah, they're nice small fish from Western Australia. Kamaka from New Guinea. So they get a lot bigger than that, and I only got one male in there. So they're there. You got to see this fish here though before you go, because it's different. It's the hardy heads. These are Cretocephalus. So these are also from Mbuta. That was collected by Johannes Graf. And I couldn't get any eggs in the mop for a while, and they said, oh, they spawned in the gravel, so I put that mop laying down, and now I got a bunch of them. But
Interesting.
Even with paramecium, I'm not doing so well with them. So I finally raised the temperature up because I was doing, lazily doing 76 degrees, and it's just not working. New species, Kali Puar, silverfish, boring. But it's a new species. Mm-hmm. And then this thing here is the Marazi. We saw those already, but the colors, and they get about that big. So once they get going, it's what you'd call a medium-sized fish. One real quick one here. This is the alleni that we collected last time in 2023. The male, the others are like F1s. So we lost the female and trying to get those guys going. And he's not turned on, but when he does, he's really, really good.
Gorgeous.
Here's the parva, and they're not turned on. So when they get going, I've got videos out there on ANGFA Facebook site. When they get going, they're just incredible. I should have put a light across here because it's weird. Some of these fish, you put lights on them, they're going nuts. Go next door to the tank to the right. This is Melanitania sahulensis, the real Skull Creek. They've got a little bit more orange color than the ones that were from Burster Creek that people thought were Skull Creek originally, and they just I just got those from Vim. So the one of the best pseudomcgill keepers in the world had these fish also. He collected them. So.
Real shy, but I love the stripes.
Yeah, they're a pain in the butt that way. Fish from Dubulei from Brisbane area. You can keep these outside with a little bit of ice on the tank. So Radnocentris and pseudomcgill mellis come from that area, and they can take the cold. So that's the Kangaroo Creek one, and the one next to it, he doesn't run away. That's the one from Snapper Creek. So the creeks are about 5 miles across. This one has more purple in its fins. This one kind of more of a blue. well, the other fish to get before they chase you away. Here's the Monotania bozemanite ooters, and you can
Wow.
see he's not turned on right now, but he's just kind of there. But you can see all those beautiful colors, and people sit there sometimes and say, "Oh, you photoshopped that." It's like, nope.
Nope, I'm right here looking at them.
They're just cool stuff. So.
Okay, two things before we wrap up, if I can. Okay, blue eyes, a little bit harder than large rainbows.
Not so many so many eggs. Sometimes 2 weeks to 4 weeks to 5 weeks to hatch them. So it really gets to be a lot of work. And I pick those because some of the blue eyes will eat the eggs. So I pick those and put them in a tray. So that's the best way to handle them. And then if they don't hatch, put them in a little vial like that. Put the vinegar eels you could try, or microworms. Stick them in your pocket and then check them every couple hours.
Okay,
So it works.
I'm gonna try it.
Yeah, it's a good killifish trick.
Okay, any last words for the internet people?
I think that's it.
All right.
So thanks for humming. I wish I was out of town for 5 days, so otherwise the glass would have been a lot cleaner. So
It was absolutely gorgeous, and again, incredible to see this in person. Yeah, it's been a dream. Thank you so much.
thanks. I love having you.